Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care. In the distant realms of the galaxy, on a lush and vibrant planet named Varnus, the ethereal beauty of its royal palace stood in stark contrast to the turmoil within. The windowless halls echoed with regal authority, but they felt suffocating to Princess Zara. With raven-black hair cascading down her back and striking emerald eyes filled with defiance, she was not meant for a cage of silk gowns and political machinations. Zara had always been a force to be reckoned with. As the crown princess, she was expected to embody grace and duty, but her fiery spirit sought adventure beyond the palace walls. The stringent rules set by her parents felt like iron shackles. More than a few times, she had eluded her guards, slipping away into the vibrant jungles that blanketed Varnus, where she could momentarily soar free like the exotic birds above. However, her joy was short-lived. During one such escape, Zara overheard whispers of treachery among her father's advisors, voices plotting to dethrone her in favor of her more compliant brother, Prince Alan. Heart-pounding, she confronted the conspirators, her words laced with passion and fury. "You misunderstand me if you think I will stand idly by while you scheme. I will never let you take my crown." What followed was chaos. The loyalists seized her, and in a desperate bid to escape, she fought valiantly. The clash of weapons echoed through the realm, her spirit unyielding even as her body bore the brunt of betrayal. But the numbers were overwhelming, and in a moment of vulnerability, she was struck down, blood staining her pristine white dress, a symbol of purity now marred by treachery. Left for dead on the outskirts of the planet, Zara's breaths were weak, her consciousness slipping away under the weight of betrayal. Yet, despite her grave injuries, a flicker of defiance remained in her heart. She had no intention of giving up. She could still fight back. The Princess of Varnus would not fall without a fight. With her eyes fluttering closed, she clung to the hope of rescue, seeking the strength within to survive. She would not allow herself to be merely a victim of circumstance. Jake Carter, a seasoned scavenger, drifted through the starry expanse aboard his battered ship, the Wayfarer. He scoured desolate planets for relics of the past, hoping to find something more than just the remnants of forgotten civilizations long gone by. A former soldier, he had seen the worst the galaxy had to offer during his days in the trenches, witnessing the brutality of war and its devastating toll on humanity. His rugged demeanor mirrored his disillusionment. He wore a well-earned weariness like armor. The stars held no allure for him anymore. They only reminded him of the chaos he had once fought to protect. But today the Wayfarer's sensors beeped, indicating a crash site nearby, a distress signal crackling in the static. Curiosity gnawed at him as he maneuvered the ship closer to the desolate landscape of Varnus, a strange sense pulling him toward the unknown. As he landed, an eerie silence enveloped him. The jungle was thick with vibrant, almost overwhelming foliage, and ancient vines dripped like tendrils from mighty trees that swayed gently in the warm breeze. With each careful step, a sense of urgency quickened his pace, accompanied by the weight of unknown dangers lurking in the shadows, just waiting for an opportunity to pounce. When he finally reached the crash site, his heart sank at the sight before him, a downed ship that echoed with the remnants of a struggle, twisted metal gleaming in the dim light. It was then he spotted her, lying motionless amidst the debris, a vibrant glimpse of life trapped in the stillness of death. Zara. Even in her battered state, something in her presence was magnetic, extolling the promise of a story yet untold. He approached cautiously, adrenaline coursing through him. "Hey, can you hear me?" His voice broke the silence, rough yet filled with an urgent hope. Zara's eyes fluttered open, revealing faint sparks of defiance behind her pain. "I'm not going anywhere with you," she snarled, her words sharp like shards of glass, but the anger was undercut by her fragile voice. "I'm not here to take you anywhere. I'm here to help," Jake replied, kneeling beside her to inspect her injuries. Blood pooled around her, a grim reminder of the violence she had endured, and he felt an instinctual need to protect her, to nurse her back to life. He pulled out a first aid kit, his hands steady despite the gravity of the situation. "You need medical attention. You're hurt." And if you don't let me help you, you may not make it. Understanding flickered in her eyes, yet she remained wary, her defenses raised sky high. Zara chose not to show weakness. I don't need your help, human, she retorted, trying to sit up despite the dire pain coursing through her body. She was a force of nature, and nothing would break her will. Sure, but you seem to be doing a terrible job at that right now, he smirked, gently pressing down on her wound, knowing she needed his help, but recognizing the hesitance in her demeanor. Leave me alone, or you will regret, she hissed. But there was a teasing glint in her eyes, subtle but not lost on him. He chuckled softly, captivated by her stubbornness under duress. How about we save the threats for later, once you're not bleeding out? Does that sound fair? Working together, they performed a delicate dance of trust and tentative reliance. As he cleaned her wounds, she studied him, his cut jaw, the resolute lines of determination etched into his face, and the way his fingers deftly worked to preserve her life. Something unexpected stirred within her, a cautious curiosity that objected to her presumed hatred of humans. As the battle for survival waged on, Zara found herself intrigued by the man who had come to her rescue, despite her initial distrust. Who was he? Why had he risked his own safety to help her? Their dynamic was infused with wariness and undeniable attraction, a tension that hummed between them like electricity. Why did you come here anyway? She asked, her voice softer now, laden with an unexpected vulnerability. You could have just left me to my fate, and nobody would have blamed you. Jake paused, locking eyes with her. Their gazes pierced through the veil of darkness surrounding them. Maybe I was hoping to find something worth saving, he replied, the weight of his words hanging in the air, heavy with meaning. Zara felt an unexpected flutter in her chest at the implication. I may not be what you're looking for, she replied, a playful edge creeping into her voice. But you might find I can be quite a handful. As they spent more time together, the tension between Jake and Zara began to simmer, a potent mix of potential desire and curiosity. Each day he would patch her up, and in return, they'd share the hills and valleys of their vastly different lives, laughing and talking through the uncertainties together. Zara, now somewhat recovered, retained a sense of wariness, but there was also an undeniable spark igniting between them that seemed to grow brighter with each shared moment. One afternoon, as they dined on makeshift rations Jake had scavenged, Zara raised an eyebrow at him, an amused smirk forming on her lips. You humans really do eat the strangest things. This is what you consider food? I could practically taste the staleness in the air, Jake laughed, the sound rich and genuine. I could say the same about your native dishes. I don't think I'd ever get used to the idea of eating bugs. How can you find that appetizing? Zara gasped dramatically, her hand flying to her heart as if wounded. Those bugs are revered delicacies on my planet. How dare you insult the culinary arts of our kind? His banter sparked a fire within her, laughter bubbling forth as the tension eased. Sorry, Your Highness, but I'll take a burger over bugs any day. Deal, she proclaimed. If we survive this, I'll cook you a feast fit for royalty. It will include all the bug recipes we have to offer, just so you can marvel at your own ignorance. Jake chuckled, captivated by her fiery spirit. I can't wait for that. As he gazed into her eyes, an electric current pulsed in the air, and their teasing exchanges transformed into something infinitely more intimate. Despite the barriers of origin and culture, Zara was slowly beginning to see Jake not just as a human who had saved her life, but as an unexpected ally and confidant, someone who was genuinely interested in her well-being and journey. And in Jake's eyes, she was no longer just a princess. She was a resilient woman, capable of fighting for herself and for a greater cause. That evening, as darkness fell over the land, Zara practiced her combat moves, unaware of Jake's watchful gaze. She moved fluidly, each kick and punch embodying her fierce spirit. You're quite the fighter, he remarked, his admiration evident as he leaned against a tree, captivated by her prowess. Zara paused mid-kick, a triumphant glint in her eyes. You have no idea how much I've had to learn to survive. If they think they can just take my crown without a fight, they're sorely mistaken. Jake crossed his arms, impressed by her strength and tenacity. Then I'll help you. You shouldn't have to face this alone. It's a dangerous game you're playing, Zara, and part of being a fighter means knowing when to accept help. Her heart swelled at his determination. The possibility of forging a true alliance tugged at her. Then let's see if your human wits can keep up with me, Jake. I won't let anyone take me alive again, she declared, her pride shining through and igniting a fire of their partnership. A bond was forming, an unlikely alliance between two individuals from different worlds, united by the fight for survival and the pursuit of freedom. With every banter, every shared story, every moment spent sparring together, Zara's heart whispered possibilities she once buried under her royal duties. Days passed, filled with small victories and heart-pounding encounters, as they navigated Zara's recovery and the consistent danger surrounding them. Each moment they spent together fortified the bond they had fashioned, layered with newfound trust and burgeoning affection. One late afternoon, as they hid in a grove, the sun filtering through the dense foliage above, Jake watched Zara practice her combat moves again. Her grace and agility were mesmerizing. "You've got to teach me how to do that," he remarked, leaning against a tree with an impressed smile. Zara paused mid-kick, a triumphant glint in her eyes reflecting the setting sun. "You think so? You'd struggle just to keep up." Jake raised his hands in mock surrender, laughter dancing in his voice. "Hey, I'm not backing down from a challenge, but let's not forget that I've saved your life already." "True," she admitted, a smirk spreading across her face. "But that was about survival, not skill. Time for you to step up." With determination, they made a training schedule, filled with a mix of laughter, sweat, and a burst of competitive spirit. As Jake struggled through the various techniques, Zara would coach and encourage him, and he couldn't help but appreciate the way she pushed him not just physically, but mentally. Every stumble became an opportunity to grow, to learn from each other. Each day, Zara would share stories from her childhood, tales of her upbringing in the palace, painted with the colors of longing and adventure. Jake, in turn, spoke of his journey through the stars, sharing scraps of his past that molded him into the man he had become. The contrast between them was striking but also illuminating. They were two sides of the same coin in so many ways. One remarkable evening, as twilight settled over the land, they prepared to share a simple meal. "So, if you could go anywhere, where would you go?" Jake asked, curiosity flickering in his eyes. Zara's face lit up as she shared fleeting dreams. "I've always wanted to see the beautiful floating cities of Loria, known for their sky bridges and the magnificent auroras that dance in the night sky." "What about you? What's your dream destination?" she probed, leaning closer, eager to understand the complexity of the man before her. "Honestly, I'd just like to find a place where I can finally put down roots, somewhere free from warfare and chaos." Jake's voice held a tone of bittersweet longing that tugged at her heart. As they spoke, Zara felt herself leaning closer, the space between them crackling with unspoken words. She examined his rugged features in the dim light. His eyes held depth and shadows, and for the first time intimacy tinged the atmosphere unmistakably. It was during this quiet moment that doubt crept in. Zara tugged at her own resolve. "What are we doing here, Jake? What do you want from me?" Her question was gentle but held weight. Jake drew closer, the warmth radiating from him wrapping around her like a protective blanket. I want to be where you are, together, but I'm terrified of what happens if we fail, of losing you," he confessed, raw vulnerability coloring his voice. "Do you really mean that?" Zara pressed, searching his face for sincerity amidst the fog of their situation. "Absolutely. You're more than a princess. You're a force to be reckoned with, and I want to help you reclaim your legacy." His intensity washed over her, creating ripples of awareness, igniting desires she had buried deep. Zara met his gaze, feeling the inner workings of her heart aligning. "I won't let anyone stand in our way. You've already taken risks to protect me, and now I need you just as much." As they leaned in, their breaths mingling and hearts raced, the tactile space between them evaporated, leaving nothing but the sensation of imminent connection. Just as he drew her closer, the sound of distant footsteps jolted them back to reality. "We have to go," Jake urged, adrenaline forcing them back into motion. The days of hiding had begun to wear on Zara and Jake, a frantic awareness of the sinister forces tracking them growing heavier with each passing moment. Whispers filtered through the jungle as soldiers loyal to Zara's family drew ever closer, their hunt relentless. Funny how life worked. One moment, she was an untouchable princess, and the next, a fugitive, hunted and vulnerable. As night cloaked the land, they sat together, the fire crackling and casting shadows that danced along the ancient trees. Zara studied the makeshift map they had sketched, outlining the terrain and potential routes for their escape, but unease shrouded her heart. "We need to move through the Vale Forest. It's our best chance of losing them," she proposed. Jake frowned, apprehension coloring his features. "It's filled with dangers of its own, though. If those soldiers are smart, they'll be tracking you, perhaps laying traps of their own." "That's why we'll leave at dawn," Zara insisted, feeling a sense of urgency coursing through her. "Trust me, they won't expect us to take such a bold move. This is our only shot." The air grew thick with anticipation as they prepared for dawn. As they slept, Zara woke intermittently, her thoughts swirling with concern. She glanced at Jake, illuminated by the firelight, and felt her heart swell. She did not just want a partner in battle. She wanted someone to share her life with, to chase dreams beyond their current plight. As the first light of day broke, they set off, adrenaline coursing through their veins against the backdrop of nature's beauty. The lush landscape became a maze of shadows and light, every distant rustle upon the ground eliciting tension. Just as they entered the Vale Forest, Zara caught a faint sound that echoed like an ominous warning. "Hide!" she hissed urgently, moving into the thick undergrowth just off the dirt path. Jake followed suit, forced against her as they pressed into the foliage, desperate to avoid being seen as a group of soldiers came into view, the glint of weapons visible in the distance. Zara's heart raced, panic clawing at her insides, but she quickly focused her mind on their next move. "We need to create a diversion and slip past them while we can," she whispered. Jake grinned. Her head was already in the battle. He pulled out a small flare from his pack, calculating the risk and reward. "On 3, he whispered, counting down as Zara nodded, adrenaline flooding her senses. At his count, he launched the flare with precision, and it exploded into bright colors in the distance, illuminating the dark canopy above. The soldiers turned at the noise, caught off guard by the urgency that ignited their hearts. In their chaos, their bodies surged forward toward the distraction, giving Zara and Jake a precious opportunity. "Now!" Zara urged, and they sprinted through the underbrush, branches whipping against their skin as they moved deeper into the protective embrace of the forest. Fear of capture pushed them forward, and freedom, a distant thought, drew closer. But as luck would have it, the soldiers regrouped faster than anticipated. Just when they felt a sense of safety ebbing in, a shout pierced through the murmurs of the forest. "There! They're headed into the heart of the forest." Zara's heart sank, dread settling over her like a shroud. "We still aren't safe yet." The thundering sound of boots pounded in the distance, and Jake's instincts kicked in. "We need to split up. I can lead them away from you. Find cover and I'll catch up." "No!" Zara shouted, frantic. "You can't! I won't leave! Trust me. This is for your safety. I can handle them. Just go." The urgency in Jake's voice broke through her protest, and with a heavy heart she nodded, forcing herself to turn away, pain twisting within her chest. "Be careful!" Zara shouted after him as he darted down a lateral path, distracting the soldiers with a case of pure instinct. As she fled deeper into the forest, hiding among the twisted roots of an ancient tree, anxiety surged through her veins, fueled by an imminent sense of loss. Moments stretched into what felt like eternity. She could hear distant shouts and chaotic crashes that made her heart race in fear, adrenaline coursing through. But finally, when the last shouts faded into silence, a familiar figure emerged from the shadows. Zara rushed forward, wrapping her arms around Jake, her breath escaping in a rush of relief. "You made it," she gasped, mixing an emotional cocktail that sent shivers down her spine, as she marveled at his return. "Of course I did," he responded, suddenly animated, a cocky grin returning. "Now, let's move before they come back." As they crept deeper into the forest, Zara's heart raced with fear and excitement. With every step they took, she could feel the weight of her emotions, the burgeoning connection with Jake, the fate of her home, and the thought of a future uncharted. They were fighting for everything they believed in, and what they held dear could only be defined by how they moved forward together. Just as hope began to wane, the sounds of struggle subsided into the heavy silence of the cave. Zara and Jake, breathless and battered from their recent confrontation, found themselves enveloped in each other's arms once more, the spark of gratitude igniting warmth between them. "You did it! We actually did it!" she beamed, laughter bubbling forth, resonating with the remnants of shock and adrenaline that held them captive. Jake grinned back, their connection snapping into focus amid all the chaos. "Guess my plan was a good one after all." As they prepared to exit the cave, Zara paused to face Jake, uncertainty flooding her gaze. "What happens now? I mean, now that we've won?" she asked, her heart pounding with a mix of hope and apprehension. He stepped closer, seeking the warmth of her presence in this shelter from their trials. "We keep moving forward, together," he said, the conviction in his voice stirring a sense of hope and longing within her. "You belong back on your throne, and I want to be beside you when you take it back." A breath caught in Zara's throat as vulnerability pulled at the edges of her heart. "Do you really mean that?" Her voice trembled slightly, uncertainty quaking beneath the surface of her determination. "Absolutely. You're more than a princess. You're a force to be reckoned with, and I want to help you reclaim your power," he promised, his words for her reverberating deep in her soul, solidifying the bond they had formed in this unpredictable world. Zara met his gaze, feeling the inner workings of her heart resonating with his. "I won't let anyone stand in our way. You've already taken risks to protect me, and now I need you just as much." As they leaned in, their breaths mingling and hearts pounding, the tactile space between them evaporated, leaving only the palpable sensation of imminent connection. Just as he drew her closer, the sound of distant footsteps jolted them back to reality. "We have to go," Jake urged, anxiety propelling them back into motion. The world outside was different now, no longer familiar, but daunting. As they moved beyond the cave, the sun broke through the treetops, illuminating their path with warm rays. Each step forward felt like a declaration of resilience, of taking back what was rightfully hers. "I want to reclaim my throne, but I want more than that. I want to change my land for the better, a land where strength is honored, not oppressed," she confessed, her heart racing at the thought of a brighter future. Jake looked at her, admiration gleaming in his eyes. "Then we'll make it happen. Together, we can turn your dreams into reality." With a renewed sense of purpose, they forged ahead, preparing themselves for the trials yet to come. Zara was determined to challenge the very ideologies that had kept her confined, and at that moment with Jake, she felt unstoppable. As they ventured forth, the journey was still ahead, but with Jake by her side, their connection lending strength, she felt empowered to rise above the schemes that sought to define her. With every twist and turn in their path, Zara understood that each experience, each battle, only solidified her resolve. "I'm ready for whatever comes next. With you." Her voice brimmed with certainty, setting a tone for the days to come. As they emerged into the light of the new day, the colors of dawn painted the sky, a magnificent display of hope and renewal, matching the fire igniting in their hearts. Hand in hand, they walked forward, prepared to face the challenges ahead, bonded not only by an adventure, but by the deep-rooted connection that had blossomed throughout. Zara felt alive, purpose flooding through her with each passing moment. The fears that had clouded her mind began to fade, replaced by visions of a free Varnus, untainted by tyranny. "We will show them that I am not just a princess, I am their rightful leader," she boldly declared, her declaration resonating with strength. Jake's heart raced at the conviction in her words. "You belong on the throne, Zara, and I will be there to support you, no matter what." They trekked toward her palace, shadows of doubt behind them as dawn symbolized a new beginning, their hands intertwined, fingers brushing against one another, creating torrents of warmth and assurance, their union a testament against the chaos surrounding them. As they neared the grand structure, Zara could feel the remnants of her fear bubble beneath the surface. What if my father is still there? What if he refuses to listen to me? She breathed, uncertainty creeping into her heart. You have already shown immense courage. Trust in that, and trust in yourself, Jake reassured softly. You are stronger than they know, and they will never see you coming. Emboldened, Zara squared her shoulders, wiping away her fear. Let's show them together then. Their strides quickened, purpose circling through them as the palace loomed higher. And as they crossed the threshold into the main hall, the air buzzed with heavy tension, the anticipation palpable. As the throne room doors swung open, Zara stepped forward, unmatched in determination and ferocity, as she confronted her father and the council that had betrayed her. Eyes widened in disbelief at her emergence, and whispers rushed through the gathered crowd. Her voice rang clear, commanding and fierce. I have returned to reclaim not only my throne but my kingdom. I will no longer allow fear to rule over us. Change is coming to Varnus, and it begins now. As the gathered assembly shifted, Jake's presence anchors her amidst the barrage of conflict and uncertainty. The once frightening concern of being abandoned washed away as she recognized the resolve on Jake's face, a reflection of strength that mirrored her own. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. They were no longer just a rebellious princess and a disillusioned scavenger. They were partners in every sense of the word, united under the banner of hope and determination. The path to the future shimmered before them, unwavering and bright. And in Jake's eyes, Zara could see the promise of potential unfolding, an uncharted course where anything was possible. With finality, she vowed to not only fight for her title, but build a world where love and freedom flourished. Together they stepped forward into the light, ready to shape their destiny at long last.